That's why we're going to apply ourselves for the weeks of this series to the art of relationships, beginning with our relationship with God. I hope you enjoyed this message. Expecting a relationship to work just by virtue of you being in it is like making a trip to IKEA to get that new couch or to get that new media center or dining room table. Imagine how frustrated you would be and how silly it would be for you to bring that home and set it up in your living room and just sit on that tiny box. But how many of us get into a marriage and then it's not what I thought it was gonna be? Every relationship in your life has the ingredients within it to do something fantastic. You just have to be willing to assemble the pieces. We always like to take a second to welcome those who are joining us on the live broadcast Church Online, those who jump in on TV, those who watch on the archive. Thanks for joining us. And you're coming in as we're celebrating some new locations we've opened up in two places in Montana, Great Falls and Butte, and then also in Portland, Oregon. Fresh Life has now reached out to it. But welcome. Come on, help me greet those on the internet. It's always so good to have people tuned in. We're starting a new series of messages, and what we're going to do is we're going to come around the topic of relationships. How many of you are in a relationship? Anybody at all? Raise up your hand. Pretty consistent. All weekend long, it's been the strangest thing. People have been not raising their hand if they're not dating somebody. And you do know being a child means you're in a relationship. Being a brother means you're in a relationship. Being a mom means you're in a relationship. But it's been funny, and I think we sort of think about being in a relationship only in terms of intimacy, only in terms of romance. And of course, if you're romantically linked up with someone, if you're married to someone, then there is a relationship that you are in. But there are more relationships in our life than just the ones that involve our hearts in that unique way. And what we want to really do is open up. When I said relationship series, I meant sister-brother. I meant grandparent, grandson. I meant coworker, annoying coworker. I meant your neighbor. That's a relationship too. Life, think about it, is actually brimming over with relationships. And what we want to do is we want to spend the next 5 weeks really honing in on the relationships in our lives. We want to make the good ones better. We want to make the bad ones less bad. We want to make the unbearable ones a little bit less unbearable so far as it lies within us. Doesn't that sound good? Who wants to get better at relationships? I do. And I think it should be as a source of relief to you that the art of relationship, it's not a genetic predisposition. It's a choice that takes grit and determination. It's not like, I'm good at them, I'm not. I know I'm not. I took a personality test that said I'm not cheerful, right? So I just know that's not me. That's not my lane. I'm staying in my lane, girl, right? So I know me, and that's not me. Listen, I get some people are more gregarious, some are Tigger, some are Pooh Bear, some are Eeyores. I'm with you on that. But at the end of the day, I think we can all choose to improve ourselves. We can all choose to get better. And so much of it, I think, our mistakes in relationships come from we just take relationships as they are without realizing we have a say in the matter. We can improve them. Great relationships are not turnkey or maintenance-free. They take work. They take effort. Y'all, some assembly is required. And expecting a relationship to work just by virtue of you being in it is like making a trip to IKEA to get that new couch or to get that new media center or dining room table or bedroom set. And once you eat your meatball and pronounce the Swedish word that you're looking for, because you saw it on the website, the Klippenslagen, that's what I wanted, right? You now, is that Swedish? How do you like my Swedish? Now you bring this home, and it's in a flat pack box. How they get all that in there is amazing. Whose job is that to figure out how to do that, right? And disassembly is required. So they get it all tiny in this box and you bring it home. But imagine how frustrated you would be and how silly it would be for you to bring that home and set it up in your living room and just sit on that tiny box. Your friend comes over and you're like, have a seat. This is my couch. They're like, wait, in the box? You're like, yeah, isn't it great, right? And then you're frustrated. They're like, they point out to you how ridiculous you look, and so you're like, this is stupid. You're right. And after a couple weeks of sitting on the box, you take it back to IKEA and be like, that couch sucks. Give me my money back. That couch is terrible. And they'd be like, sir, did you open the couch? Like, did you expect, but that's, of course, a ridiculous illustration, but how many of us get into a marriage and then it's not what I thought it was going to be? It's not like I saw on the internet. The picture said it would do this, but my marriage isn't good. Listen. Every relationship in your life has the ingredients within it to do something fantastic. You just have to be willing to assemble the pieces. You just got to be willing to take them and fit them together. It takes effort. It takes hours of your back cramping, of turning a little IKEA. Jesus, help us with the Allen wrench, right? How many hours you spend under there with that? And not just the diligent effort for installation initially, but preservation continually. Okay, I applied myself at one season. I went through the premarital. We worked at it. We went through the counseling intensive. There was a season where I really applied myself, and the relationship got good. But if you take your foot off the gas, you'll begin to coast, and inertia will eventually be lost. You'll eventually lose that momentum, and you'll eventually be unhappy with your relationship. It takes not only initial work, it takes ongoing work. It's like the Golden Gate Bridge. You know, they say that beautiful bridge, it's painted international orange. The paint is the primary thing preserving the bridge. The paint is the primary barrier against corrosion. The paint is the primary way they keep it from falling into the Pacific Ocean and make it safe to drive across, to San Francisco and be in the opening for Full House and all of that, right? It's the paint. It's the paint. They've actually removed the paint entirely several different times as technology has allowed them to realize, hey, the lead's not the best way to do it. And so imagine that job. You got to take all the paint off the Golden Gate Bridge and put this new paint on. And so what they do is they paint the thing continuously. They're always painting some portion of the Golden Gate Bridge because just as they've gotten through one piece of it, another piece has now begun to slip. And that's how great relationships are. You're working on one area. You got to work on this area. You got to keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. That assembly is constantly required. Now, by way of a plan of attack, what we're going to do throughout the course of this series, and this one's just the introduction. We're not even really going to get too much into the nuts and bolts of it because I just kind of want to set things up for you a little bit here. You got to come back. I'm just telling you, if you make the commitment for the 5 weeks of this series to be here, I think we will all see some improvement. Maybe by way of a challenge, maybe say like 4 out of 5 of them, I'm going to be here in person at the Fresh Life location I attend, and that 5th one, when Billy's got his soccer game or, whatever, Johnny's got the flu or, whatever, like just you catch the podcast that week. But can you say 4 out of 5, my family, we're going to be here. I owe it to the relationships in my life. I owe it to my company to be that kind of an employee. As a leader, I don't care if Billy's the captain of the soccer team. You owe it to those under your leadership on that soccer team. Is it always Billy? I'm sorry. I apologize. He's just the foil. If your name's Billy, this is going to be a tough church for you to attend because he's like, oh, I'm always throwing Billy under the bus, little Billy. But just make that commitment, make that effort to be here multiple weeks in a row. And I think we will all see some improvement. And I wonder if even just at the beginning, you might not even just write down a relationship in your journal in your life that's tough. And you're going to really give some concerted effort. Maybe it won't be a massive amount of growth, but maybe it'll be a little bit. Maybe it'll be just enough to give you confidence that if you apply yourself, you can actually see some progress. Because when you finally start to see some change, okay, this is working. Okay, we're on to something here. Come on, somebody, 1% at a time, 1% at a time, 1% at a time. We want that quick fix. We want that magic bullet. We want Amazon Prime to deliver us epic relationship awesome sauce. It is not on there. I have checked. And so what we have to do is just do the hard work of showing up and keep trying. So you with me on that? 4 out of 5, let's be here. And that 5th one, we'll catch the podcast, catch it on the playback. So great. But plan of attack. We're not going to be identifying each week of the series a kind of relationship and honing in on it. This is the week for second cousins. This is the week for second wives. This is the week for, this is the boss. We've preached that way, and I've done it before in different series, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've had to mix it up. I've been doing this for 10 years here, and so we've had a lot of different series, and so many of them, there's a wealth of them archived on the app and on our website. You can go back and listen to different ones, but what I feel like God would have us to do in this series would be to give every single week of the series, including this one, a tool that will help you get better at every relationship in your life. Right? So important too, because new relationships are always popping up. And so if we just focus in on how to approach specifically one area, well, that's great for that one, but what about all the other ones? So instead, if we could get better by learning a tool, if assembly is required, we'll need the different tools. And if each week of the series we can get a different tool that we could apply at home, apply at work, apply at school, apply at sport, apply to strangers, to anybody, to everybody, and everybody in between, I think that would be helpful for all of us. Anybody with me on that? That's the plan. All right, and here's where we're going to begin. All right, here's our first tool to get better at relationships. Ready? We're going to put it on the screen. Start with God. Start, that's the title of my message, and that's the first tool I wanted to give you. Jot it down. Start with God. Now you're like, Levi, objection? Objection. You said you're not going to be focusing on relationships specifically, but instead tools that apply to all. Stick with me, objector. Stick with me. If you have a Bible, Proverbs chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 1. Oh, by the way, we're going to be the entire series pulling principles from the book of Proverbs. I'm excited about it because I've never preached through it. So we're going to be picking pieces of the book of Proverbs, but I want you also to get the entire thing. So here's a challenge I'm laying out for you. Throughout the course of the Some Assembly Required, we're, as a church, going to be going through the book of Proverbs. There's 31 chapters in it, one chapter a day, starting tomorrow. All right? So those of you watching on TV, whenever you're watching this, tomorrow is tomorrow for you, okay? So all of us are getting it tomorrow. But what I want you to do is read one chapter a day, and then get this. It's so cool. We've taken our staff all across our entire church, three different states now, and we've assigned all different staff members for every weekday. So all 5 days of the weekdays throughout the course of the series, one of the Proverbs for that day to give a little Devo on. And you're like, well, how am I going to, I can't make it to the church. No, it's going to be on Facebook Live and Instagram Live every weekday at noon MDT. So Mountain Daylight Time at noon, there's going to be just a 5-minute Devo from a different staff member from that day's reading. So ideally, you'll have already read it that morning. Proverbs 1 the first day, Proverbs 3 the third day, and then at noon, at lunch, you throw your earbuds in. If it's a smoky day, throw your gas mask on, whatever you got to do. And that's a joke because where we live, there's been wildfires that have been causing it to be difficult to breathe, and the air quality's been like toxic, and it's been funny to watch people walking down the street briskly, walking their dog with like a surgical mask on. And but at noon, jump on for that 5-minute Devo, be pumped up in your spirit. Isn't that cool? I'm so excited about it. I hope you'll join in. Because the cool thing is you can be throwing comments down on Facebook Live, and you'll be the person giving a positive thing to say on Facebook. Not a lot of that going on these days, but let's be positive commenters. Let's use our words to speak life. Let's use our words to build up. Anybody can tear down. That's easy. Creating something, that's hard. Building up something, that's hard. Let's speak life. Let's let our words flow out with vitality. Let's encourage each other. Mama said it best, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, baby girl, don't say nothing.
Levi Lusko is the pastor of Fresh Life Church, a multi-site church in Montana, Utah, Oregon, and Wyoming, and best-selling author of Through the Eyes of a Lion and Swipe Right. For a gift of $40, you will receive both of these incredible books along with the Swipe Right and Through the Eyes of a Lion series on DVD. Get your copies today by visiting levilusko.com or calling the number below.
So that's what we're going to be doing, and then I'll be pulling from different parts of the series. Principles, you can come in here each week expecting to receive a tool or principle or a pitfall to avoid that will apply to every relationship you're in. Let's bring our friends. Let's invite people. It's going to be a really great life-building time in our church. Proverbs 1, we're going to jump in at verse 3, where we're told what the book of Proverbs is. It says, a manual for living. Pause right there. Who would like to say thank you, God, that we get a manual for living? Because we got a manual for everything else in life. I mean, I got a manual here for a 2016 Chevy Tahoe. It tells you everything you need to know about a 2016 Chevy Tahoe. Got the logo blacked out so I don't get sued when this goes on TV. I got information here about the infotainment system. I got information about the Sirius. I got the information about the lock and unlock features. I got information about fan max speed, trailer wiring, ICE possible drive with care. I got information about the oil pressure. I got information about the headrest. I got information about everything I could possibly need. Airbags, seat restraints. I got information about heated seat warmers, key doors and windows. There's a chapter about rear power wash fluid, a key for when you're in a valet parking scenario. I mean, there is so much flex fuel economy, interior lighting. I got a book I can go to for any dilemma I got from my Chevy Tahoe, 2016. QR code on the back. Does anybody still use those? Don't know. I got a camcorder manual here. This has helped me preach this message. If I go over here real fast, they'll jump to a wide shot. If I'm here for a while, they'll come in close for my beautiful close-up. And this is happening here. I don't know how it all works, but I could open this book up for any dilemma, for focus issues. If we're going to be real about it, then I'm not that thankful as I get older that HD technology just gets better and better as I look worse and worse. I got a manual here for my wireless mic pack that's helped me preach this sermon. It's in my back pocket, and somehow it, through a wire that runs up my shirt that Tim ran down my shirt before the service started, that as I'm talking, it catches it here and goes down here and then shoots through the air to a board, and it pulls it into a speaker array that goes out, where it's eventually shot out to our 11 locations. Hello. Then it goes live on our radio stations. Okay. And then it gets archived and gets listened to by approximately 80 to 100,000 people in a week. And then it goes out to our TV show, which reaches millions of people, including every 50% of the prison systems in America and a majority of the army bases, military bases, goes out on Church Online, where people can join in and be chatting, where they're hearing about things that went in through, and if we get any problems, like interference, like we're picking up a ham radio, it's happened. If the Coast Guard got super chatty, we come into a new city when we do tours, and all of a sudden there's new interference that we aren't used to in the native environment. And so one of the first things they got to do is listen to the spectrum and analyze UHF, VHF, VCR, whatever ADD they got going on. And this will tell you how to do all that just from this tiny little pack. And if you speak German, it's in there for that too. So the point is, we got manuals for everything. Everything. You're like how much of things? This is one for a high chair I have for my son Lennox. How many scenarios can there be for a high chair? It makes him not be low, but instead be high. It's got a seat belt. You pull it up to the table. That really should be it. It should just be one thing. Put him in it. Eat. You're done. Goodbye. But we got a manual for sitting high. And what is so refreshing to me is that in the Bible, God gave us, look at it one more time, a manual for living. And that's awesome. And you should thank Jesus, because life has a lot more knobs and buttons and levers than my high chair. It's complicated stuff, living is. And Solomon, who has been called the wisest person who ever lived, how he got that is a great story. You should read it sometime. It's amazing. God says, poof, what do you need? Like Robin Williams to Aladdin, poof, what do you need? Literally, it happened. The Bible says Solomon gave God 1,000 burnt offerings, and that night God said, what do you want? Ask me. And I just love that, because that's what radical generosity unleashes. And we're living proof of that. Here we sit at 11 campuses, but it's come as a result of sacrifice from many, 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 many people. Thousands of people have sacrificed, and God has said, what do you need? What do you want me to do? And we said, we want to go to Great Falls. And we said, we want to go to Utah. And we said, we want to go to Oregon. And we said, we want to fight for Montana. And we said, we will go to Wyoming. And we said, we will release music. And we said, we will call a generation out to strength and out to honor. And we will die trying to reach people stranded in sin so they can find life and liberty in Christ. And I will fight for you to receive your God-given blessing, and you to fill up to your God-given potential, and for you to walk in all that Jesus died for you to have. You can hate me all you want. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to preach to my dying breath. I'm thankful because we gave, and God said, what do you want me to do? We said at one time like this, if we just give the blood, God will give the thunder, and when it comes, all we got to do is ride the lightning. And that's what we're doing right now. We are living out our dreams, and we're not ashamed of it at all. A manual for living. We've read 4 words. Better speed it on up. Oh, but Solomon said to God, when God said, poof, what do you need? Solomon said, I want to be smart. I want wisdom. He said, I'm young. Man, I'm the king, but I don't know nothing, man. And I need wisdom to lead well. And I can relate to that. You know, being thrust into all that God did at a young age. I mean, when we started this church, I was 24 years old. Jen and I are both 24 years old, and we just said, God, give us wisdom. And we've always felt like we've been skiing in front of an avalanche a little bit with the way that God blesses. I mean, we had 1,000 people before we thought to buy a copy machine, you know, and it's just been always the growth that God's given has been ahead of the systems in place, and we've been playing catch-up organizationally for a decade, and I relate to Solomon who said, God, just give me a heart of wisdom. I need wisdom to do this well, and God was blown away. And this isn't even my sermon. I'm getting distracted with the setup, y'all. But God said, you could have asked for money. You could have asked for riches. You could have asked for power. You could have asked for a hoverboard like Michael J. Fox wrote in Back to the Future Part 2. You could have asked for anything, but you asked for a heart of wisdom. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you all three. Wow. I'm going to give you all three. There will be no one richer than you, no one more powerful than you, and no one with more wisdom than you. And I just love that. When we link our heart up with God's heart and we are willing to say goodbye to our dreams, sometimes God has a funny way of giving us the dreams back. We lay down at his feet. I'm just saying, I just feel like I'm preaching for somebody right now specifically. When you lay your dream down at his feet, he is safe to trust with it, and he'll give you his dream for your life. And I just dare you to believe in a more powerful way than you could ever have imagined, he'll also give you the desires of your heart. So that's Solomon's story. And being the wisest person in the world, I'm really glad that he chose to write a book. That's the kind of guy you want writing a book, you know, because he would have died, all that wisdom would have gone into the grave with him. But no, he gave it to us. A manual for living, for learning what's right and just and fair. Who's it for? Well, continue on. To teach the inexperienced the ropes. Dang, that's helpful. Because every one of us are inexperienced in some regard. And as life goes on, though we are experienced, become inexperienced because we enter new seasons. Think about it. I'm in a season right now where my parents are getting older, and when my mom texts me, it's always something bad about her body. Not always, most of the time. Other times it's weird pictures of cats. But one day I'm writing a book, things my mom texted me, you know what I'm saying? I'm just grateful she doesn't know about Twitter yet, because the world's not ready for that, I'm telling you. But don't tell her about it if you ever see her. She fell out of a hammock. The hammock broke. She's lying in a hammock breaks, lands on the metal pole, and she already has a broken back because she had gotten on a trampoline, was just kind of jumping up and down, and she didn't know she had osteoporosis, and so she broke her back, then lying in a hammock to relax, she falls on the bar. And I'm in a different season because I'm states away, but I want to help her. I'm states away, but I want to be there for her. That's a new season for me. I wasn't expecting it. It crept up on me. You know, your parents just get older one day at a time, just like you do. And so even though I'm experienced now somewhat, I've been a dad for 11 years, so that was new to me. Now I feel like I'm getting the ropes to that a little bit. But now I'm in a new season because now I'm back into son mode. You see what I'm saying? We go from experience to inexperience every day. And we got a manual for living. That's awesome. And give our young people a grasp on reality. Young people, you need a grasp on reality. Because when you're young, you feel like your mortality isn't real. That's why we do such stupid stuff when we're young. And we think it's funny to not wear seatbelts and to not wear helmets. And we don't realize how much of a vapor life is. And how it can go from 1 second to another. We're laughing and YouTube and Red Bull to ICU and tubes down throats. And just how fragile life is. We need a grasp on reality when we're young. Amen, somebody? You can do stuff when you're young that lives on with you. Every day we're packing a time capsule to be opened up in a couple years, and a couple years, and a couple decades, and a couple decades. And so we need a grasp on reality. Now, you old people, whenever I preach like that, I was like, yeah, tell those young punks what to do, you know? But there's something here also for seasoned men and women. Don't you love how he covers every base there is? Seasoned men and women. Still a thing or two for the experience to learn. Fresh wisdom to probe and penetrate the rhymes, I love this, and reasons of wise men and women. So at the end of the day, this manual is for all of us. Okay, you're like, dang, get into it, sucker. Like, I need all this. All right, here we go. Here's where he's going to begin. Verse 7. Start with God. Start with God. The first step in learning is bowing down to God. Only fools thumb their noses at such wisdom and learning. You ever get something that you ordered online and you putting it together and you kind of want to rush to what you think is going to be the final step. Like maybe it's not as much assembly, it's just kind of like installation. And so you want to rush to do something, and you do it, and it doesn't work, and then you go back and you see at the first page of the manual that you had declined to open up. Whatever you do, don't do this first. And it's the thing you just did, and you're like, oh, crap. I'm even worse. I've done it where like there's stickers on it that say that 9 times all over the product, and I just ripped them off quickly and did the thing and didn't work, and then What I love about this here that feels like it's not a tool but makes it a tool is that we are inclined, when we talk about relationships, to want to immediately move on to my cousin who's annoying me, and to my brother who bugs me, and to my spouse and I who are having this issue, and we want to rush to talk about how to be a better mom, and we want to figure it, but if you're not careful, your life can become a game of whack-a-mole. Whack, whack, whack. And it's funny how even success in one area can cause you to feel like you're failing in another. Okay, now I focus on work, and I'm crushing it at work a little bit. I'm being successful here, but now I realize I'm failing at home. I've been neglecting my spouse. I haven't been present for my kids. Even when I am present, I'm on my phone. All my kids ever see is just me on my phone, right? Like that's not what we want. So then we focus on that. But then as we're doing that, but then the expectations are over here, because didn't your mom say she wanted you back for Thanksgiving, but you were really kind of looking forward to Thanksgiving with just your immediate family? Okay, so now you're winning with your parents, but you're losing with your kids, and then you try, and all of a sudden we feel like we're on a seesaw. One side goes up. Does that force another side down? Do I have to choose to be successful or to be great relationally, right? Is it going to be in my sports life that I'm great, or in my spiritual? Like we just all of a sudden now feel like one thing goes up, one thing goes down, and the moment we're killing in one area,